It's time now for the KC Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's KC Ingram.
Tired of lines at the boat launch, sun damage, or not using your boat because of the hassle? Call Meridian Marine and Yacht Club because we do all the work so you can enjoy your boating lifestyle. We store your boat inside, launch it with a wash with just 30 minutes notice, and rinse it down before putting it back. Need new electronics, service, detailing, bottom paint? No problem. Our experienced certified techs will make sure your boat is in tip-top shape and ready to head to the sandbar, fishing, or the Bahamas. Call us up at 772-221-8198 or visit us online at meridianmarina.com. So in the studio, we have Speaker Pro Tem Representative Marilyn Mager. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Good afternoon.
We are so happy to have you back, and it's after the 2019 legislative session, which has been a very busy one. I think it was a record 195 bills that were passed. So
a record low.
A record low. Oh, yes. I read it was a record, but they didn't say record low.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. It was a record low. And one of your constituents, David Hafner, says good evening to you. So over
good
Facebook
evening,
Live, we're joined by the radio and Facebook Live. So Representative
David
Mager.
and his great 4-H kids out there.
Oh, my goodness. For certain. And I absolutely, in the county fairs that are out there, David Hafner, I see him on Facebook now and again, and you're absolutely right. The 4-H is excellent program. I'm going to open it up right now. I know that as Speaker Pro Tem, that was a little different from just being a representative. So tell us a little bit about that and some of the initiatives you had as Speaker Pro Tem where you were able to make a difference.
Thank you. Yes. So I was nominated by the speaker and voted by my colleagues to be Speaker Pro Tem. And I was able to, drive the agenda to make sure that we were talking about issues that were important to me and those issues that I felt was important to all Floridians. Obviously, one of them was water. And, we've had our share of problems with it, and we've had record funding this year. We've had over $680 million that will benefit the Everglades, things like completing a portion of the Tamiami Trail so that water can flow through to the south. We've got water improvements for septic to sewer improvements that the counties can take in on grants. We've got Blue-Green Algae Task Force, our very own, so we can study exactly what's going on here. And as chair of healthcare appropriations, I was able to also put in another study, $650,000, to study the health effects of the blue-green algae. We've had a number of issues that have come about that we can't pinpoint for certain if they are because of blue-green algae exposure. So with this study, almost $750,000 to look at what is going on from a health crisis.
Representative Mager, those are wonderful, wonderful issues that you have tackled and record funding. Kudos, thank you, and congratulations on that. As one of your constituents, certainly appreciate it and can't think of anything more important. And, also studying the effects of the blue-green algae, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. We have a high incidence of liver disease here that's not related to alcohol. So why is that?
Exactly.
So these studies are so incredibly important.
And I always felt like we were looking at so many aspects of this algae, but what about the health issues?
Yes.
Yes, we know it's an economic nightmare. It's driven away tourists. It's hurt people that work off the water, the marine industries. But what it's doing to the health of people that are breathing this every day, and their pets, I believe.
Their pets, and now we have to wonder, you don't even have to be on the water specifically. You might be inland a mile. So with it being airborne, the mycosystems that can become airborne, it worries all of us. So having these studies are incredibly important. As a matter of fact, next week I'm going to have Dr. Edie Witter on the show that will be talking just about these things.
I'll be tuning in.
She's wonderful. Excited to have her. Let me jump back to the septic to sewer. How do communities apply for that grant?
So there'll be a fund that will be set up and will be managed through the state. Applications put in, communities will apply, and we can get these things rolling. Like, for instance, if there is a neighborhood that is looking to convert, they can get together through their homeowners association and the county and apply to the state. And those grants, I think, will be looked upon very favorably within this area.
Will they be a matching grant or 100%?
There'll be both, depending on the income and property values of those areas and how many homes that it will take off.
That's huge. There's so many homes here that are on the water, on the river, that still have the septic systems, and they flood a lot. So, it's expensive for people.
Leak.
Yes. And to have that financial help, that every little bit makes a difference. So obviously that was one of your main priorities, was our water issues.
Absolutely. And, there were some other small issues. We were able to get the Culpeper Ranch Phase 2 berm project. That was about $270,000, and we got $700,000 for the Loxahatchee River Initiative, which also feeds into the waters up here in Stewart as well. It's the Loxahatchee down in Southern County.
Absolutely. Were there any other initiatives that you wanted to talk about that, Speaker Pro Tem, again, it's a huge honor to be that. And certainly your fellow representatives think a lot of you to elect you to that position. And by the way, this was your last term.
Last term, one more session.
Yes.
So we're going to make it a big one, though.
So you got one more session last term. So, well, what's on the horizon after this?
Well, after this, a little golfing, some boating, enjoying our good nature here in Martin County.
Get to enjoy some of the beauty that we have here.
Exactly.
Still fight for it, but in a different way while enjoying it.
There's so many ways that you can serve your community and advocate for your community without being elected to office. And, some of the things that make me most excited when I meet someone and most impressed with are entrepreneurs, people that have started their own business, whether that's in healthcare or a small restaurant, whatever the case may be. That really excites me.
Speaking of restaurants, that's something you had to deal with here lately, is this hepatitis A outbreak.
Yes.
Do you have any updates that are recent? It seemed to kind of go quiet from the health department here lately.
Apparently, there's a little bit of a spike within the whole state. It wasn't just Martin County, but being a smaller community, we saw the impact, and with 3 deaths, that's way too many.
Right.
We have put into funding in the healthcare budget to beef up Department of Health in emergency situations and have some additional FTEs, full-time employees there, to make sure that they're looking into and addressing the crisis. I do think they were a little slow in not only addressing the crisis, but getting the information out to the community.
Right.
If this had been a larger breakout in a larger community, it could have been even worse, more tragic. And I think that we have to be very open and give people the information to make those decisions on where they're visiting and where they might be able to avoid these diseases.
I couldn't agree more, because what happened, the rumor mill opened up and there was nobody to deny or confirm to this day the rumors. And, that's really tragic when they're just rumors.
Yes.
So, but people are frightened. So information transparency is so important. Representative Maker, I had a question come in from a listener before we came on air. I'm going to read it to you. We're going to take a short break as soon as I'm done reading it and let you address that when we return.
Okay.
It's a teacher here in Martin County, and she wants to know why you voted to share referendum monies with charter schools. And she also wondered why you haven't personally replied to your constituents. So we'll address that as soon as we return.
Don't forget Dad this Father's Day on June 16. Dad faithfully preps the boat and takes the family out to the sandbar, and Dad cleans the boat all up when you get back. Show him how much you appreciate his hard work, and let us at Meridian Marina do all the work so he can enjoy his boating lifestyle. A Meridian Marina gift certificate is the perfect gift that he can use towards engine flushes, service, detailing, and more. He can even use it for our Father's Day special, a hard wash for just $65. Just stop in our dock office to get your gift certificate or call us up at 772-221-8198. Happy Father's Day to all the hardworking dads from Meridian Marina and Yacht Club.
Okay, we are back on air. A real quick break. Representative Mager, I had the question from the listener that was teacher. Let's address the first part first. Why you voted to share referendum monies with charter schools.
Okay. Well, let me address it in reverse, actually.
Okay.
I wanted to let this person know that my door is open and would love to hear from you in the office, and we can sit down and talk. Sometimes when we're in session, especially those last days, and for me, I was either chairing the health committee, and so creating that budget and passing that budget through, or I was up on the rostrum running the floor. So I had not a whole lot of time to address Facebook questions, and I'm happy to do that personally, and would really like to sit down on that.
I'll jump in there
Okay.
too real quickly. As I've been up to Tallahassee quite a bit to visit all of you up there, and during session it was incredibly busy. But I want to give a shout out to your staff, because when I do have a question and you are super busy in session, they get the answers from me, and it does filter back to you. So even though you're busy, you work through your staff, and that staff is phenomenal. And when they bring an answer back from you, it's as good as an answer from you. So that's another way, is just reaching out to your office. I've never, had an issue at all reaching anybody there.
I do have wonderful staff, and they really understand the community.
They do. They do.
But one thing I do want to make sure is that I'm responding. And with that bill, and sharing the revenues, I really think it's a slippery slope. If we start denying certain groups public tax dollars, for many years, the inner city schools were not very well funded. And now it so happens that many charters are in inner cities. And I again, feel like it's a slippery slope if we do not fund certain types of schools. All children learn differently.
They do.
And what a charter school may be good for one, a parochial school for another, and a traditional public for many. I have nothing against any of them, but I think that we should absolutely support our students, whatever schools they go to. But I just want to be very careful that we fund all schools.
Right. And the money is with the children.
In Martin
At the end of the day,
County,
we want the children to be educated to the best of their ability.
Absolutely. I'm sure that we would never put on the ballot that we are only going to fund students in mid to northern part of Martin County, or leave out Indiantown or something like that. And I feel like if you're leaving out the charter schools, which are public schools, you're not funding and supporting students as a whole in the county.
And here in Martin County, I believe we have Hope Center for Autism, Clark Advanced Learning Center, and then the newest is Treasure Coast Classical Academy that'll be opening up next fall.
And I can't imagine not funding disabled, autistic children, whatever the case may be.
All charters.
And I'd love to talk a little bit more about higher ed as well.
Please do.
Because
this was huge. There was actually a big announcement, right? I'll let you say it.
Yes. When I was running the first time many years ago, I had a county commissioner tell me that, hey, the reason we don't have higher ed jobs here is because, we just can't support that. And if your children are really ambitious, they should consider moving to New York or Atlanta or Washington. And I feel like those jobs need to be right here in the state of Florida.
You're here.
Our kids are smart enough and they deserve those opportunities. And we've got two great things that are happening within our higher ed communities. The first at IRSC, Indian River State College, they were just named the Aspen Award winner. So they are the top community college in all of America.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. Dr. Massey's been a visionary and has been on track for this. But additionally, they will be building a manufacturing hub. So to give the skills to students that are in manufacturing industry. And, manufacturing is no longer the big old smokestacks pumping out the heat, but they're in pharmaceuticals and biologics and small energy, small business and energy. So that's really exciting. Additionally, FAU to the south of us, the Jupiter campus, is going to embark on a brain institute. So we will have a center there with Max Planck and Scripps, because, I don't love giving companies money. I'd rather give the money to research and our state resources. so that they can then work with those industries and have those research jobs here. But more importantly, to think that we might be on the cusp of curing things like Alzheimer's or finding things for Parkinson's, stroke. This is big for our
big.
community.
It is big, and research positions pay very well. It's a wonderful thing to try and achieve, and to keep our smart Florida students right here
That's
at
right.
home.
Bright futures is a wonderful thing.
It truly is. It truly is. I wanted to touch real quick on HB 7103. Commissioner Harold Jenkins just sent out a letter to Governor DeSantis urging him to veto it, but it was about the local. If you sue to enforce a local comprehensive growth plan, the amendment makes the loser responsible for all legal fees, including those of the developer. I don't know if you can talk about that, Bill, a little bit.
That's been pretty typical in many of these cases and the way that things are going. I know that home rule is always a hot issue, and I think we all have a lane to stay in. My concern with many home rule issues is really from a small business perspective. If we had businesses in one town or county bordering that have different vacation policies or sick leave policies, you might not be able to attract the workers in the right places. And it's very hard as a small business person to keep track of all of those things. So, I understand many of the home rule issues, and as we've talked many times, a lot of these usually come out of some of the big cities to the south of us.
Right. Another, let's do a PSA here. What happened with texting this session?
Texting while driving. Don't do it. It is not only a secondary offense, but you will get pulled over for it. And the bill in the beginning started out even a little bit more strict, and people noted that you can't even pet your pets at the time. But this really is going after the texting, and to make sure that when we're in a school zone, that you put those phones down.
Absolutely.
This was something that I think that everyone agreed on within Tallahassee.
But I'm going to say I'm so glad to hear that, because it has been brought up before and it didn't pass. So this year it overwhelmingly passed, and I think it's just a wonderful law. It's a no-brainer, as they would say.
Well, people are sometimes worried about discriminatory issues, and if there would be other reasons for people to be pulled over versus texting that they might use as a reason to pull them over.
And there's probably some truth to that, but it brings a little bit of more importance of that you shouldn't be texting and driving. There's been too many accidents due to that. So,
we all have followed someone or seen somebody go off the road. It is dangerous.
We absolutely
put it down.
We absolutely have.
Listen to the radio instead.
Oh, that's right. Listen to WSTU AM 1450. Here's another one we'll talk a little bit about, and that was the arming teachers. So there's a Guardian program, and the teachers, there's a 144-hour program that legislature passed, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. All school districts have to do it, right?
I wouldn't really call it arming teachers per se. Number one, the school board has to pass it and allow it in your county, and the sheriff would have to run it and make recommendations on it.
Which Martin County has already said no, by the way.
And additionally, that teacher or administrator, probably more likely administrators, would have to agree or want to volunteer. This is totally voluntary. If there is not one teacher in a county that doesn't want to do it, well, it doesn't happen. So there are a number of ways. But we've got some small rural counties, and to get a sheriff to their school would take way too long. And so there has to be another option for them.
And it's not necessarily just teachers, but it might be the janitors. It might be coaches, principals, right? The other people that work at the school. Here's some good news for the schools. I understand that public schools are going to get a $242 increase per pupil, and it was up from last year's 47-cent increase.
Yes.
I thought that might be a typo. That's incredible.
No, we believe in our schools. We believe in our teachers and our students. And I think that you've seen, we put our money where our mouth is on that. The only thing I would say as a caveat is we want to make sure that they're educated in the best ways that's different and unique for every student, whatever
That's right.
and wherever that may be.
Absolutely. And then another one that I saw that was a little bit of good news was businesses that rent. You approved a tax cut for businesses that pay on rents from 5.7 to 5.5%.
We are the only state that charges a sales tax on your business lease.
Yeah.
So chipping away at this year by year, I think is very important, especially to small business. That's the growth in Florida. That's what it's all about, entrepreneurs and small business. And they're the ones that are really carrying the burden of this.
And that is very true. And honestly, small business is the backbone of America. So it's something that there's a tax on the rent here. But, like you said, baby steps are good steps, and decrease that as it goes along. It only helps the small businessman to grow and invest his money elsewhere.
That's right. Hire more employees.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing doesn't affect our area personally, but there's some toll roads going in up north. And that's hit a lot of the news as people are like, wow, there's 3 big toll roads going in up north. Is this a good thing?
If you've been driving the state at all, and I have been driving from Martin County to
You have
Tallahassee
been.
back and forth quite a bit, the roads are in need of expansion. It seems that the Turnpike and 75, I-10 even, which used to be no one driving on, they're just way too crowded. And we do need alternative routes and toll roads. I'd also like to see some additionally in the south part of the state. Miami and Broward County through Palm Beach County is really tough.
As Florida grows, our traffic is just becoming heavier and heavier, and that does absolutely include the northern section as well as the southern section.
And I think that, up through 27 from Dade up through Okeechobee,
Yes.
that's where a major highway could and should be, as well as a train.
Yes, I agree. It's a good spot for the train. We got just a couple minutes here. So let's just talk a little bit about your experience. We touched briefly at the beginning of the hour. And, as Speaker Pro Tem, I cannot say enough what a big deal that is. And congratulations. And we're so appreciative that you were able to push through, especially the water bills, that is going to improve our water quality. What are your other thoughts?
Well, I tell you, I don't have the loudest voice. But when I'm after something, I'm going to stick with it. And I was certainly an advocate for Martin County and will continue to be. And I think that this upcoming session, I really today for the first time sat back, getting my head above water and started to think about what we can do for next session to make sure that it's successful.
You just got back. You got to take a little break. But you're always working hard for your constituents and really the whole state of Florida. Thank you so much, Representative Marilyn Maker, for joining us in the studio today. Next week, we're going to have Dr. Edie Witter here right in the studio.